Ladies and gents, welcome to Reconnecting, your video game-oriented talk show. I am Nick Mo, and alongside me, my two wonderful co-hosts. Marshall, you want to take it off?
Yeah, my name is Marshall Brummel. I go by Hangry.
And then my name is Ian Murphy. Screen name is the Pizza Guy. And I am ready to start this off. So, Nick, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, for sure. So I want to start off with what is perhaps bringing some of the most buzz in the gaming sphere right now. It's the release of Valorant, specifically the closed beta. And if you have not heard of Valorant, I suggest you get out from under your rock because Valorant is taking online streaming and gaming by storm right now because it has recently hit kind of its closed beta. The stream or gamer embargo is lifted, so people are showing off the game. Gameplays on Twitch right now. And as of recently, I think as of yesterday, it shattered some Twitch viewership records. So 12.2 million total hours watched,
Wow.
1.7 million viewers at the peak, which rivals probably another big event, which is the Fortnite Season 2 Black Hole announcement. And there's tons of stuff going on. There's articles coming out every couple hours talking about influences, what's very popular, but there's tons to break down. And I think the best place to start off, let's start streaming specific because Valorant has really gotten a bunch of its steam because of its Twitch momentum. So does anyone want to hop in about that perspective specifically?
Well, I mean, I can tell you right now, I currently have another tab open as we're talking, trying to get a key to Valorant. If that's any indication of how successful this has been for them. And I don't think, are you guys, do you have a tab open trying to get a key right now?
Not right now, but if you'd asked me that 15 minutes ago, that would have been yes for sure.
Yeah, figured. I have one friend who has gotten in. Now we're all jealous and trying to get in. I haven't seen a game do the drop key thing nearly this effective before. I mean, it's everyone's frantic to get a key for this game, and it's Twitch and Riot working together to do that. It's easy money. It's smart.
Honestly, I think the last time we saw something like this was actually Runeterra,
It
Oh
was.
yeah.
which was, again, another Riot title. So it's particularly interesting that this partnership between Twitch and Riot is going so well. Nick, you mentioned the concurrent peak viewers. Guess what? The only concurrent peak viewers that has been higher than for Valorant.
I'm gonna guess that Riot has their fingers in that somehow.
They do. It is the League of Legends World Championship in either 2018 or 2019. I can't remember offhand, but that is the highest peak that any single game has gotten before Valorant.
And with that, I think we've already driven this home, but to reinforce, I will give tons of credit to those beta keys because I think that that's a really smart move on generating the hype because even before we started seeing live action gameplay, we heard lots of hype about this being the CSGO Killer, the Overwatch Killer, which we can talk about just after this. But the key drop system's really great, not only for generating publicity, but working with content creators, which Riot has also done pretty well historically. So, being able to, I remember I did the Legends of Runeterra beta drop key, and I watched tons of different streamers, whoever was on at the moment, to like learn the game, but also learn about the personalities. So I think it's a really, really smart marketing move on Riot's end, and it will only mean good things for Valorant moving forward.
Definitely. And I mean, the slightly pessimistic view of the world. I mean, it's a good time for them to have all this momentum with everyone being home right now with what's happening in the outside world. It's easy if a game takes the spotlight, it's not a bad time for that company. I mean, they just have so many people at home who would be, out working jobs usually. They're able to kind of invest themselves into this hype as well. And I think that is working for them in this case.
So I want to also bring Marshall in on this next point. I alluded to it just a little bit before, but that Valorant is the CS:GO killer, or the insert game title here killer. Marshall, where do we want to start in that conversation? Because I know for a fact you have a pretty strong stance on that.
Yeah, so I originally come from CS:GO background, like as an esport, and then I moved into Rocket League and have kind of found a home there. I do not think this will kill CS:GO. We've talked about it a little bit as far as how serious FPS players are as far as the realism goes. You know, at the top you have stuff like Rainbow Six Siege, which are like, I want to be able to literally blow up floors and shoot you through the floor. And then there's like CSGO, which is a little bit slower, but still pretty tactical. The economy system is very robust and doesn't necessarily hold your hand like Valorant does. You know, so, and then there's also, I think we talked about this a little bit before, but the graphics of Valorant are a little more, I guess I can say it's, you know, Team Fortress 2-esque because it's the same art director. But yeah, I don't think CS:GO is going anywhere, given that they just hit a peak viewership concurrency a week ago.
Yeah, that was massive for them, and for the game especially. But Ian, do you want to chime in on that?
Oh, definitely. I think you guys are completely right. The big thing I think CS:GO has that a lot of esports don't have right now is CS:GO has had people who have been invested into that game specifically for decades. I mean, since CS 1. What was it, 1.6?
Even before, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and before that, but like there are this game has spanned decades and people loving it and wanting only that. I think a big thing that's been a talking point in my social circle with Valorant, I think just having characters that have different abilities alone will completely turn off some Counter-Strike purists
Yes.
that will not want to even have that become a part of the game. Counter-Strike isn't going anywhere, but Valorant has made good moves to attract Counter-Strike players, such as very similar, near identical spray patterns in some of the guns, but it won't kill CS:GO.
No.
I, I,
And if I can jump in really quickly, I was trying to play devil's advocate against myself here for like a little bit before the show was going on. And I think the one thing that might give Valorant an edge over CS:GO is Riot's organization.
Yeah.
So you have a strong franchise-based model that has worked very well for League of Legends, and they've built the relationships with the team owners. You know, so there's lots of power behind Riot and their ecosystem. So if you and when you look at Counter-Strike, they don't have that power behind their ecosystem because their ecosystem is fractured and everyone's fighting each other, right? So people bid on majors against each other, and people are, teams are in the midst of potentially signing exclusive deals with the leagues or with tournament organizers, and so the scene, even though it's much older, won't feel as mature as if Riot was to just introduce a franchised league in that aspect. So I definitely think that there is room for people who don't want to spend lots of time trying to learn the narratives of CSGO. Valorant will have very easy narratives for them.
And so I think we'll shift the conversation to talk about competitive Valorant, which has been again a big topic of conversation. But I will chime in on one thing in terms of the CS:GO Killer aspect. I believe, especially as a spectator, where I've played CS:GO, but I'm much more of a spectator of the competitive scene myself. There are certain games in the esports world right now that I firmly believe are grandfathered in. I think CS:GO, arena-based MOBAs like League and Dota. I'd say even Call of Duty or Rocket League to an extent. Rocket League's becoming, I'd say, it's something that will become standard, in my belief. And I think that it's difficult to, knock off someone who's grandfathered in like that. So Valorant might take up its own space as kind of this hybrid between Overwatch and CS:GO. But I do think that, premier games will reign supreme. But like you said, Marshall, Riot has a really robust strategy. It's handled League of Legends incredibly well, especially both from a player and spectator standpoint, which makes the competitive scene so great. And I
Arguably
can,
better than anyone else.
I think hands down. I think they really do set the bar, and if they apply that to Valorant, I can see it having a home. But I don't think it's going to be stealing players or viewers from other big events. If anything, there's going to be some cross pollination, but I don't think it's going to be like CS:GO can finally be put to bed because Valorant is here.
Now, the other thing we have to remember too, especially because I'm involved with the collegiate esports scene. I coach at Aquinas Esports here in Michigan. The one big thing is that a lot of administrators don't like CSGO. They don't like the terrorist versus counter-terrorist. They don't like the bomb. There's lots of things that they don't like about it. But Valorant solves actually a lot of those issues, right? It's attacker versus defender. It's a spike. It's not a bomb, right? So it's a little bit more cartoony. There's no blood. Compared to CSGO. So if you're looking at like what games are going to be played by the youth of the future, it's probably going to lean more towards Valorant and less towards CSGO.
And I so I'm going to chime in on one thing. I know you guys mentioned it earlier, and you brought it up again. The graphics here. You said that you were I'm taking it or leave it, honestly. I'm just gonna put it out there right now. I don't find the graphics necessarily appealing. I love how League of Legends graphically can be toned down to be played on like anything, right? I have an old laptop I use to play it, and if my desktop died on me, God forbid, I'd be able to use my laptop to play the game at a lower graphical setting. But the ceiling is so high, right? And because Riot loves the storytelling and adding depth and so much flavor to their game, I see this as a missed opportunity, but I do like how the simple graphics allow for this, it to be a little bit more spectator friendly. It runs a little bit easier. And that makes it very accessible. I think that bodes well for the competitive scene more than people really realize,
Part of me thinks that the reason we're seeing a game that looks so simple, I think they are learning from maybe the mistake that Overwatch made in being a very hard to follow competitive game.
I'm nodding my head emphatically right now.
Yes, I think it's them overreacting to a problem that's very apparent in esports right now. Overwatch being the figurehead of that. And part of me wonders who will be the most upset about this. I definitely see CS:GO people who just like the way that game is and looks being upset, but also there are people who still play Counter-Strike in a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I don't think some people care what the game looks like as long as it feels right for them. And I mean, at least CSGO players are definitely the ones who will advantage most from this new game and their prior experience playing games. I mean, this game plays a lot. It's very gun skill heavy, and that's CSGO in a nutshell.
Well, I mean, if you look at what Valorant tries to do, you talked about overreacting to problems. That is like Valorant in a nutshell from what I've seen so far, right? Mm-hmm. So asking your teammates for drops is difficult in CSGO. So what did they do? They added a ping system so that people can literally just put it right into your inventory, right? Yeah. It's hard, CSGO has this issue right now with like different operator skins. Some of them are almost impossible to see in certain places. So what did Valorant do? Everybody's very visible on the map. Nobody can just sit in a corner and you can't see them, right? So it feels like, you brought up the Overwatch, the viewability aspect of it. Valorant has seemed to done a very good job of taking problems and targeting them, but when you take a bunch of problems and mash the solutions together, does that create something that lasts?
And that's going to be my closing question for each of you guys. In a way, in 10 seconds or less, we're going to start with you, Marshall, and then move to Ian. Do you think so the hype right now is sky high? Do you think that Riot will be able to ride this wave and secure Valorant as a premier, not only just esports game, but like a household video game, just like your Call of Duties, your League of Legends, your Rocket, stuff like that, Marshall, you want to take it?
I'm going to break this into two parts. I'm going to break it into a 1 to 3 year and then a 3 to 10. 1 to 3 years, no. It'll sit at the same spot as like an Apex Legends, in my opinion. People will like it. Lots of people will play it. But we just don't even know what the scene looks like right now. Where are pros going to leave from to play this? Like, how are new pros going to come up? And then you talk 3 to 10 years, 100%. It'll be League of Legends level.
Great. And then Ian, 10 seconds, give or take.
I think that it's really going to depend on how the CSGO community integrates into Valorant. I think right now the big thing they need to figure out, I think they need to not flood the game with too many characters with far too many differing abilities. I think if they do that and they get even a percentage of the CSGO community that will be very skilled at this game, if they allow themselves to be, if they can get them to stick and create just a big competitive hype, I could see it sticking around for a while.
I'll throw my 10 cents there, or I guess my 1 cent and 10 seconds there before we move on. I haven't been hands-on with it, and the biggest factor for me, does the game play well? And it seems like the resounding opinion right now is, yeah, it plays pretty well, and it is improving upon some of the issues of the past. So I think that if it can continue to attract players, everything else will follow suit. But for that, we will only see when more people get their hands on it.